I wanted to kick things off today and talk about, is AI the next industrial revolution? There's obviously loads of hype in the media, loads of FUD, loads of uncertainty, lots of excitement, lots of fear. But is it really as big a change as that? But before I kind of start talking about what I think and what we think, I just wanted to kind of canvass opinion of everyone in the room, because I always think when we run these events, we get lots of really smart people into a room, and it's great to hear what we as a kind of collective of people who think about technology think about these things. So as a quick show of hands, who here agrees with the statement that AI is the next industrial revolution? Pretty conclusive. And just for completeness, who thinks, yeah, it's new tech, but like all new tech, we're getting overexcited and we'll do a bad job of adapting it and embracing it and rolling it out? Who's in that camp? There's one, there's a few. There's a few cynics in the crowd. Excellent, good to know. Well, I think it is. I agree with most of the room. I think it is the next industrial revolution. And to kind of put some substance to that and to steal some thoughts from someone far more clever than me, there's a guy called Reid Hoffman. For those of you that don't know, he was one of the co-founders of LinkedIn. He's a tech entrepreneur, a paid-for talking head, and generates some really great quotes. And what he says is we are having a cognitive industrial revolution. And to kind of build upon that, he uses a quote from Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs once said that the computer is like a bicycle for the brain. And if the computer was a bicycle for the brain, then AI is like a steam train for the brain. And I think it is that much of a profound change that we are seeing. It is that kind of step change of going from bicycle to steam power. So whilst it's not, iron ore, smelting, cotton mills and all that kind of things, the possibilities and what it's going to be capable of delivering for us as people, I think is it is that kind of step change. It is going to completely change how we interact with people. And I think that's becoming less and less controversial with every day that passes. I feel like from when I started putting this presentation together a week ago to today, it's snowballing. But sometimes we get a little bit carried away with ourselves, and I think what I wanted to do was perhaps a bit of a reality check and a sanity check on this. So I used an AI slide builder like Matt. I'm trying to outsource my effort as much as possible to things that are smarter than me. And I used it to generate a slide deck. And it did a really great job. Like, I like the design, I like some of the images, and I like kind of what it put forwards to me. But I have changed all of the wording, and I have changed most of the slides. And I just wanted to show you what it put together as its kind of suggestions of what I should be talking about. So this first one is the team behind the revolution of AI. First up, we've got an incredibly photoshopped picture of Elon Musk with half of his name in it. Then Jeff Bezos. It couldn't be bothered to find a picture of Jeff. Even the laziest of humans could find a picture of Jeff and whack it on a PowerPoint slide. Only a fool would present a slide with no picture of Jeff on it. Then we've got half of Bill Gates' head. Not that much in the technology game anymore. Mark Zuckerberg. Jack Ma, he's not allowed to say anything anymore. Chinese state banned him. And then Satya Nadella. Okay, it doesn't even have Sam Altman on it, the CEO of OpenAI. And this slide AI service backs off to the OpenAI engine. So you've got to be careful, and you've got to be thinking about what it is you're using for it, and make sure that you understand it. And then I just wanted to show this one. Come on. There we go. This is my favorite one. So this is an industrial revolution chart that it put forward to me and told me to use. For those that can't see, this is supposedly data from the World Bank. And in 1750, we were on level 1 industrial revolution level. And then us clever humans, we've grown very linearly every 50 years since then until we reached level 6 in the year 2000. And so for the mathematicians amongst you, that's much better than 1. So it's really quite impressive. But what did occur to me last night when I was looking at this is actually it's not the next industrial revolution, because we're not scheduled to hit level 7 until 2050. So I've proved myself wrong already in my presentation. But my point of showing this and my point of talking about this is it is a really powerful tool for us, and like the things it can do productivity-wise and all that kind of stuff, I think are going to be profound and a big change for all of us. But we're not there yet, and also we need to make sure that we're using it as a tool for us, not having it at the forefront of what we do. You know, Microsoft are calling it Copilot, not the pilot, for a reason. But to kind of go into kind of, and dig in a little bit into kind of actually the opportunities that it does present to us. There's a paper that's been released by Erik Brynjolfsson and some economists from MIT. It was released in April 2023, and they followed an American Fortune 500 software company for a couple of years. And they started using ChatGPT at the beginning of 2020. And what they did was they wanted to use it for the customer service center, which I'm sure we can all kind of picture it having a huge, profound change on our contact centers. And they started to train it with good outcomes from existing calls, training it with kind of the best ways to resolve problems and things like that. And then once they trained the engine, they didn't just then remove customer service and just set it forth and let it go forth and talk to customers. They gave it to their customer service reps, north of about 5,000, and kind of gave it as another dialogue box, another dialogue window for them to work from. So when customer service people were talking to their customers, they would have ChatGPT trained with their data to start talking to their customers. And the results were pretty interesting. They got a 14% productivity boost across the contact center, which is a pretty profound improvement. You know, if all of our companies could gain 14% productivity, you know, that's a pretty massive, massive increase. But what they also found was employee satisfaction seemed to go up as part of it. And then some of the other interesting things that they found was the more experienced, most effective people, they didn't see much of a boost in their productivity. It was sort of the newer people, the perhaps slightly less effective people who had the biggest boost in their productivity, so it brought the level up to those top people, which I suppose in some ways probably isn't a surprise. It was training and learning from their data, and it used the good outcomes from those most effective customer service reps to then train and use and bring the other people up to that level. So, which is really interesting, and perhaps a slightly negative view of that is like, well, will experience be valued as much anymore? I mean, I think in the short to medium term it absolutely will, because the way that the model became so effective was by learning from those most effective people. So, you need to iterate and grow together, I think. So it's an interesting kind of, I don't think there's many empirical studies out at the moment, so this is kind of one that's worth having a read and understanding. But if your data center still looks like this, and no judgment if it is, by the way. If you had me as a 23-year-old sysadmin in your server room, I probably would have been there with Cat6 cables putting it across. Going back to what I said earlier when I was trying to get the blooming PowerPoint to work, the more things change, the more things stay the same. And so, if you've got a data center that's loads of tech debt, you've got data that you don't know what it's all about, and all of those kind of things, then the fundamentals of IT and technology still remain. You need to get your data cleansed, you need to get it into the right place, and you need to get your applications modernized. There's no doubt that Microsoft and AWS are going to be wanting to pull that data into their center of gravity as the best way to start interrogating it and utilizing it and getting generative AI and other AI tools to action against it. So everything's changed, but equally the fundamentals of IT are still true. But if we do this right, I think AI has the absolute chance to transform the way us as end users interact with IT and use IT. So, I think it's huge. And just before I hand over to Phil, I think one of the things I spoke about in a webinar that I did a couple of weeks ago, and I think is really important to us and that we're really focusing on when we build out services for adopting generative AI and other technologies like that, is kind of to this point of this messy server room. If you don't bring everybody with you, and if you don't get your change management right, if you don't get your end user adoption right, it will never really, really fly. These tools are going to be pretty ubiquitous, so it's going to be about how you, as a company, use your data and use your employees to get the most out of it. So we're doing lots of stuff around change management, user adoption, understanding a company's culture, And that culture bit is key, because you've got to figure out who's going to use it, who's going to not use it, who's going to use it in the right way, the wrong way, and all that kind of stuff, and securing it. So it's, you know, it's a massive space, and it's really interesting. But like I say, there's still lots of the day-to-day stuff, and there's still lots of work to be done to get there.